So today I want to talk about this great topic that is so important and often not like we've all heard about trauma, we all heard about sexual trauma, and very often this is things that so many people have experiences of or have been with a partner who has some kind of trauma, not necessarily sexual, but all sorts of little things that happen to us through life can contribute to a trauma response in our bodies that can affect us in many different ways, and not least in our sexual and intimate lives. So I will start with a disclaimer here that I'm not a trauma therapist, and if anyone experiences a fresh acute trauma, always see a trauma specialist. If you have an older trauma, still a great idea to see a trauma specialist. So what we're going to be talking about today is about how to create an environment where we can make it easier to let go of trauma and where we can help healing to happen. And it just happens to be that the methods and the approaches that I use with my clients and have talked about over and over again happens to be an approach to sex and intimacy that is very favorable and really helpful when it comes to letting go of and resolving trauma. So I want to start with talking about this thing that we are all so afraid of and we all so much shy away from, which is closeness and intimacy and connecting with each other in a vulnerable, present, and transparent way. So everything we do in our lives, we are so geared towards doing things. We're so busy living our lives and making things happen. So that also when we come to have intimacy and love and closeness and sex, we're very often in the mindset of still doing and making things happen. And what this can lead to is that we overrunning what's really going on for us on a deeper level. When we do things because we think it's a good idea, or because we've done it before and it worked last time, or because we know that this partner likes it, or maybe our last partner liked it. So we very often have an idea of what to do during sex. And when we come from that place of doing, we very often can overrun what's really going on and where we really at on a deeper level. So that can be for yourself or for your partner or for both of you at the same time. So yeah, in the mainstream approach to sex, it's usually always all about excitement and body parts and making pleasure, creating pleasure. And that can all be very great. But in a situation where there's deeper things going on, and that is often the case for all of us to a certain extent, because we've all had experiences, we've all had hurts and fears and things that happened to us where we felt the need, or we subconsciously and automatically closed down. And that is something that often happened a very long time ago. And that affects us often in a way that we're not maybe really aware of it. So just to begin with, I'm just going to say a few words about our nervous system. So this is also very simplified. If you want to learn more about the nervous system and trauma, then I could potentially bring someone into the group actually, or at least do a recording with someone. A video call recording usually works best for me rather than lives with a guest. And we could bring in a specialist sometime soon. I got a few people in mind I could ask. So today I'm going to share with you the approach that I have learned and also used with clients and for myself. And if we start with looking at the nervous system, so everyone's probably aware of that we have fight, flight, and freeze response within our nervous system. And this is an automatic response that happens when we get triggered by something. It could be anything. We very often don't know even what it is that triggers us. And we very often also are so used to those nervous system responses that we're very often not aware of that it's actually happening. In fact, that's quite often the case, that when it happens, we're not always aware of that it's happening, but we tend to overrun that response by trying to do something to kind of cover up the fact that somewhere we lost a connection. So fight and flight, they can happen definitely. Freeze is probably maybe more common in this context, but all are relevant and can be, the causes behind sexual challenges, like, for example, premature ejaculation, erectile challenges, performance anxiety, delayed ejaculation, also sexual disinterest or inability to enjoy sex and connect deeply during sex, as well as porn addiction and lots of other things can stem from some kind of trauma that happened to us. So when we start to look into this and start to work with creating an environment where we can help our nervous system to become balanced and come into a place where we can be in a state of rest and digest, which is when we are in our parasympathetic nervous system, then we can really help our body's natural healing processes to kick in. But as long as we are in the sympathetic mode, which is the fight, flight, and freeze mode, the healing can't really happen. It's like life is a bit on hold and we're just in a state of protection, like automatic protection of ourselves, and quite often without even knowing that we're doing that. So this is why it's so important that we know a little bit about this and know some tools, have some tools for how to create an environment where it's a lot easier for the body and the nervous system to begin to relax so that healing can happen. When we don't manage to relax, we are not fully present, we are not fully here, and we can't really connect deeper with ourselves or another person, which means we can't fully enjoy and really benefit from the intimacy and the connection that's available for us. So as an example, I want to mention that I was talking to a beautiful man just the other day, and if you're here and recognize yourself, this is for you. So without letting any details on, and this is a very common situation, that's why I also want to share it, that this man had identified that in his intimate encounters with all girlfriends and relationships in his life, he would always get to a point as he was getting closer to the other person where all of a sudden his heart would close down. And somehow, from that point forward, he was not really there and he was not able to enjoy the intimacy. And it was like he was just going through the motions and doing sex and not really enjoying it. So, really great that he had identified this pattern. As you can understand, this is something that really limits him in his ability to experience some of the most beautiful things in life, and also for his partners that would also pick up on what's going on for him and be triggered in their experiences and in their fears and emotions surrounding that. So I talked to this man, and I suggested a practice to him that he can do with his current partner, which is actually not even his partner, but it's the mother of his child. And even though their relationship is not going on perhaps into the future, they happen to be together at this time because of different important factors. And this is why I suggested this practice for him and her to make the most of the situation that they're in. So I'm saying this also to highlight that this practice is not just for if you are with, your chosen partner that you want to stay with forever and ever, but it can also be helpful with any connection where the two of you are willing to go into the space, to create the space of doing this practice together. So it doesn't have to have a long-term plan or future, but what it does need is both partners to have the willingness to hold space for each other, and to the willingness to make themselves completely available for creating this space where healing can happen. So I'm going to quick look at my notes here. Yeah, so sex is the healing for sexual trauma. Almost like that. I'm probably not quite getting it right, but I think those were the words of Sasha Cobra that I really, really resonate with. Because we very often go like, oh, I have sexual trauma, I have to heal, but we don't necessarily know how to heal. And she describes it very beautifully in with that sentence, that it's the sex that is the healing to the sexual trauma. It's the love making that is the healing to the sexual trauma. And that is not saying that any sex or any love making will be healing, but there's definitely a way to heal through sex and love making. And what I like to add to that is that what we're going to talk about today, I'm not going to go much into the sexual part, but I'm going to go into creating the environment where we can start to calm our nervous systems and create the environment for intimacy and healing. And so the practice I'm going to share with you is about creating the foundation. It's about creating a space where healing can happen, where we make it as easy as possible for our bodies, our emotions, our nervous system to relax and be able to start to let go of old things, old stuff, old emotions and traumas that have built up over time. So this practice is very, very simple. And because it's so simple, it's also important to have clear guidelines when you decide to do this with someone. So that's why it's important to share with your partner what it is and explain what it is, because for most people this is something that's new, that they haven't done before, and it can seem daunting and confronting. So it's a very simple practice in that there's nothing much that needs to be done. But in saying that, it's very, very important that we create a container that's safe. Because without that container, if we can't feel really safe, then there's potentially the risk of not making trauma better, but making things worse. But the great thing is that we all have the ability, and our bodies have the ability to tap into this healing environment when we create the right settings. So first of all, the number one is to have agreement and consent that both you and your partner are willing to do this practice, willing to try it out together. And understanding what it is about, what is the purpose for the practice. So the purpose is probably most beneficial to have the purpose solely to be creating space for healing and creating a space for deeper connection and intimacy, rather than an idea of that it would lead to better sex or something else in the future. Best not to add any of that onto it. The better sex will no doubt be a byproduct. I'd like to add to that, but it's helpful to not focus on that when you start out. So this is a non-sexual practice that I'm going to describe today that can later on be extended into a sexual practice. But for the simplicity, I want to share it just as a non-sexual practice today, and also iterate that is really the way to start to do this, not to make it sexual straight away, because then so many other things gets mixed into it and it can make it just more complicated. So with your partner's consent, you shared that you want to do a practice that is like a close meditation, a space where you both hang out together and hold the space for each other to be able to relax, be vulnerable, and be seen by each other in whatever space you're in that moment. So easiest way to do this is to lie down together. Just to lie down together in a comfy space, in a bed or somewhere else that's really comfy. And to have decided on the amount of time that you're gonna do this practice can also be really helpful. Let's say you agree on 10 minutes to start with, so easier to start short. This is great to do for longer period of times, for half an hour up to 1 hour as well. But when you start, it might be helpful to just start with something short, like 10 to 15 minutes. And the agreement and the consent is really important, that you agree on not taking this further into a sexual activity this time. You know, if that will happen in the future, then that's something that you talk about. But to keep this practice really safe, it's best to agree on no sexual activity, like no kissing or touching in a sexual way, but simply to stay close and connected and hold space for each other. So you can do this by lying next to each other and just hold each other, just embrace. And it's important to be in close body contact. You can be just really tight side to side with maybe a leg over each other, an arm over, whatever is comfortable. Important that you actually feel the body heat and potentially even the pulse of the other person. And the pulse you will feel when you put bone to bone connection. Like if you have a leg over each other, you will be able to feel the pulse. So it's not important the exact details of that, as long as you're comfortable and you're close. So close that you can feel each other really, really, you can feel the energy of the other person. You can hear the breath, their heartbeat, staying really close. It doesn't have to be so close that it's squishy, because that will be triggering for some people, but close enough that you can, you know, you're really there together, holding space for each other. And in this space, it's important to create an environment where you can relax and start to signal to your nervous system that it's safe to be close. And for a lot of people, this might seem like kind of obvious, but for most people, we actually do get triggered when we're close to another person, even if it is our partner. And especially so in a space where we are putting the focus on purely creating a space of connection and presence without doing anything and without saying anything. So for most people, we avoid this. As soon as there is a kind of quiet pause moment, we feel the urge to rush in and fill that moment by doing something, by stroking or caressing or saying something or changing positions or getting into our heads and thinking, oh, maybe she thinks this is boring, or maybe our mind starts to race very quickly because we are not familiar with being still and present together, perhaps not even with ourselves, and even less together with a partner. So I like to add here that it's really, really important also to start to cultivate your own practice here. So start to have your own meditation practice, or stillness practice, so that this is something that becomes increasingly more easy for you to stay still and to be present with yourself without running away into activities or thoughts. So when you're staying together, close together, relaxing, so very important to relax as much as you can here, because very often we automatically hold tension somewhere, we restrict our breath. So focus on really, really relaxing your whole body and allow your breath to be slow and deep. It helps to focus on the out breath rather on the in breath. When we allow ourselves to breathe out, the in breath will happen naturally. And this type of breath through the mouth is very calming for the nervous system. Either way, just calm, slow, deep breath will help with this. So you can lie next to each other like I described before, or you can lie side by side facing each other so that you can actually lie on a pillow and see each other's faces and look into each other's eyes. For some people that can be too triggering to start with, so that's why I mentioned the other way first, just lying next to each other and holding each other. That can be a good place to start. And as you feel more comfortable with this, you can also lie face to face and engage in eye gazing as you do this practice. So with this practice, let's say you're doing it for 10 minutes together and you got yourself comfortable and you're lying there next to each other or face to face, just breathing, relaxing, and holding space for yourself and for each other. And this is a space of meditation where all we want to do is to hold space, to relax, and to witness, and to welcome whatever might occur in this moment, whatever we might feel. And that is the practice, to observe, witness, and welcome whatever shows up in this space. And that will likely initially be as feeling a little bit awkward or uncomfortable, a little bit nervous, maybe with tendency going into your head or feeling like you should do something. So resist the urge to do anything, but focus on just remaining present, just remaining there, just staying there, just feeling your own body and feeling the other person's body. So a bit half-half, attention on yourself and on the other. And if one of you tends to, or both of you tends to drift off into thinking about other things, or then what can really help is to help each other to stay present by a little bit of talking. So it's important that this doesn't become a lot of talking, because then we get into our heads, and then the healing doesn't really happen then. So you can help each other to stay present by just checking in, and this really helps with eye contact. So if you're on your side, then that would really help. But it can also be okay to do if you're lying just side by side. You can check in now and then and go, how are you feeling? I'm feeling nothing. Yeah, that's quite common when you start with this. Okay, yeah, great. How are you feeling? Oh, feeling a little bit nervous. Yeah, okay. Thanks for sharing. So just checking in like that. Just if you're talking, the purpose of the talking is just to help each other to stay present in the here and now, which means that the things that you will say will be only related to what's happening in this moment. What are you feeling? Or this feels great. This feels beautiful. Or I feel calm. Or I feel whatever you're feeling. Yeah, anything and everything is okay to be feeling. So those kind of conversations are helpful. And make sure that you still have lots of space where you don't say anything. So don't get into talking about anything abstract, even if it's about your relationship or anything like that. Just stick to here and now, present moment, physical, energetic sensations, emotional sensations. And continue to hold space for each other. So this is likely to be confronting for at least one of you. And when we feel confronted, we feel uneasy, and it can feel challenging to lie still and be present because emotions come up. And this is the place to really strengthen this container, to really hold the container together energetically, to stay there, stay present, stay together, and keep relaxing. Keep relaxing and allow yourself to feel the energy of what you're feeling, and allow your partner to feel what they're feeling. There's no need to try and fix anything or change anything. If your partner will start crying, for example, you don't try and stop her from crying. You don't try to make her feel better. Simply hold the space for her and be there for her and let her express. Same for yourself. If emotions come up and you feel like crying, allow this to happen. If you made a proper agreement, your partner is there to hold space for you. This is the space to allow whatever comes up to come up. So this is the simplicity of this practice. And by creating this container and this environment, we're inviting old, deep hurts and anything in between. All the little bits of tension and things that we collected and accumulated and held on to for years and years and years, or maybe just from this morning. All those things have an opportunity to be, that we can let go of them, that we can let them fall off us, so that we can become lighter and come back into balance, so that our nervous system can settle and our bodies can begin to work optimally again. When our nervous system isn't settled, everything is on emergency alert. Digestion doesn't work properly, healing doesn't work properly. Nothing really works properly except for our ability to run away and fight and escape from extreme danger. And that is not something we need in intimacy with our partner. At least not as a, when we are making an opportunity, creating an opportunity for healing. So this is why we need to help each other to relax. And the amazing thing here is that when you relax, you make it easier for your partner to relax. It's very hard to relax next to someone who is not relaxed. So that's why it's like it will be easier for one of you to tap into this, most likely. And that person is kind of lending their nervous system to you, lending their regulated heartbeat and breathing to you. So this is how we can, on a very deep level, support each other without doing anything except for breathing and relaxing and staying present. Breathing and relaxing and staying present. And the work will do itself. So this is the amazing thing. All we really need to do is to create the environment here. We're creating the environment for healing to happen. And the healing will happen by itself when we're holding this space. So there's another practice that I want to share together with this that you can do at the same time, which is like an internal awareness practice that will help with this. And I've shared this also in other videos, and this is also something you can do at other times just by yourself at any time during the day if you like. So this is the 3 steps to letting go of emotions. And the 3 steps are, number 1, name the emotion. So this is about becoming aware of that you are feeling something. And it can be more than one emotion. But in the moment you notice, I'm feeling a bit anxious. Notice that. Become aware of that you're feeling anxious. And don't get stuck on that you don't know exactly what emotion you're feeling. It doesn't matter. If you can't find the word for the emotion, that's okay. It's good to find a word for the emotion or emotions. But if you don't, just tune in to the emotion itself. Just acknowledge that you're feeling whatever it is you're feeling. That's the first step. And the second step is welcome the emotion. So when it comes to emotions that are not deemed as pleasant, our automatic response is to try and push that emotion away, to try and distract ourselves, to not feel it. And what we want to do here is the opposite, is to welcome that emotion. Whatever emotion comes, welcome it. Welcome it with open arms. I'm feeling anxious. Welcome the anxiousness. Fully welcome the anxiousness as the second step. And the third step is feel the emotion fully with your whole body. Feel the energy of the emotion fully with your whole body. So this is about feeling the energetic sensation of that emotion in your body while you're relaxing and breathing deeply and slowly. And what's very important with point number 3, okay, remember this, is to not listen to the story. Because there's no doubt a story there. A story that you've told yourself perhaps for a very, very long time, or that someone else has told you and you made it yours. And that story, if you tell yourself the old story while you're feeling that emotion, you will loop. You will get into a loop where you're feeling the emotion that you don't really want to feel. And then you remember the story and you think about the story and you feel more of that emotion you don't want to feel. And then you think more about it and you feel more and you go round and round and round. This is how people get trapped in negative emotional loops with depression, anxiety. It's because you are listening to the story. So what's important here is that you place your focus on the emotional sensations in your body and allow the story to kind of just fade off into the distance. Yeah? Just focus on the physical, emotional sensations in your body and welcome them. And what will happen then when we do this is that slowly, emotions will start to dissipate. Emotions are never constant unless you engage with the story. Then they can last for a very long time. But as long as you don't engage with the story, you welcome the emotion and you allow yourself to feel the sensation of the emotion in your whole body, emotions will start to move through your system. It will start to dissipate and it will shift and it will become something else. It will become a lighter emotion. This may happen in small increments. It can happen a lot at a time, or it can take longer. This is a lifelong practice. So don't expect immediate results, but know for certain that when you start to do this, things start to shift and you are letting go of old emotional charge. So you can do this for yourself while you're there in embrace with your partner. And by all means, share these 3 steps with her as well. And yeah, obviously this doesn't matter. I keep, my language is very heteronormative. I'm aware of that. But this applies to any gender. Yeah. Okay, so that is the practice that I wanted to share with you today. The practice for creating a healing environment where you can begin to let go of old emotional charge, old traumas, and in that process creating deeper intimacy and deeper connection and deeper trust with your partner. I'm going to have a quick look at my notes again. Okay, I'm going to have a quick look also to see if there's any questions. Doesn't look like it. A couple of people watching. So yeah, so if you're watching the replay here, feel free also to add questions and I will always get back to them later on. So you might think, but what if so what I mentioned already is that likely one of you going to have easier to do this practice, and likely one of you is going to maybe want to feel like they want to run away because it's too confronting for them. Yeah, and that is totally normal and very, very common. So this is why it's so important that we have an agreement to stay there and to hold space, and just hold space like the way I described, and not rush into trying to fix or talk about things, because if you start to talk about things, it's very easy that you go down a track where you might start arguing or you tense up and the connection is broken and the healing can't happen. So this is why it's so important to hold the silent space together. So what's likely to happen also is that you might feel nothing and you might feel numb, you might feel bored, you might feel like going to sleep. And all those can actually be signs of trauma, and that you are indeed in a freeze response where you're not maybe really tired, but that's the way that you learn to protect yourself from the dangers of getting close to someone when you're little. So this is why it's important to just watch everything that happens. Whatever happens is actually the perfect thing that needs to happen as you're staying there, relaxing and connecting in this practice. So feeling bored or numb or irritated or nothing or feeling like running away, those can all and are very likely to be trauma responses. And the best thing you can do there is to help yourself to offload your nervous system from that charge by continuing to breathe and feel, and breathe and feel and stay present. And for the person that wants to run away, it's it's important to to really be there for each other and acknowledge each other, and maybe adjust a bit, like that person might need just a little bit more space. If you kind of holding on too tight, that might be a bit too much for that person, and maybe just give them a little bit more space. Maybe just holding hands for a while, is that something they can handle? Can they handle just holding hands, that you're remaining with some kind of connection? or if the other person goes into a stronger emotional response, they might just need that you take your hands off their body, or disengage a little bit, while they're going through something, but make sure that you are staying there with them and keep holding the space. Even if you have a little bit of distance in between the two of you, you can still keep holding the energetic space and be present with your partner, and you can let them know that you're there. I'm here with you, I'm supporting you, you're amazing. I fully support you in going through whatever you're going through. Whatever you can say in very simple words that just encourages the other person to keep going, keep doing whatever they're doing. Because we have been so conditioned from when we were babies to suppress our emotions and to push it down, to distract ourselves as soon as difficult emotions arise. An example of this is that I always think of this when I see people with babies, and you notice the baby has a little bit of a whinge, and people straight away start bouncing the baby, and that's where these things start, in a way, where we start to learn to distract ourselves from our emotions, or show a toy to a baby that's upset, like, here, look at this, like or here, have some food, we straight away, very, very early on, we are conditioned to disengage from our emotions, to distract ourselves from our emotions. And emotions unfortunately don't go away like that, but they get suppressed into the subconscious of the psyche, where they tend to build up over time and create difficulties for us to actually be present and authentic and living our life in a full and ecstatic way. So yes, with babies, I could make another one about babies, but what you can start to do if you have a baby or an adult baby, and your adult partner that in that moment is connecting with emotions that stem from when they were a baby. This is real. We all have an inner child inside us that is as alive as it was when we were 2 years old. It's still there. So to support a baby that is going through emotions, with babies, it's important to know that they're not sick or very, very hungry, or that they got a physical need. The physical needs, they need to be tended to first. But very often for babies, when you have fulfilled the physical needs, that they have a dry nappy and they just been fed and they don't have something poking them, then to hold the baby, to just hold the baby and be there with the baby, so that the baby can cry and let go of the emotion, is the best thing you can do for the baby. Because that's how we learn that emotions are okay, and that I'm getting emotional from sharing this. That's how we learn that it's okay to be ourselves, that it's okay to have the full range of our human emotions, that it's okay to express our emotions, and that we will continue to be loved and accepted and supported through all the emotional states that we may go through at any given time. And I know that this is not practically possible to carry out in a daily situation for most of us, at work or, in life with, all the busyness that we have around us. But it is possible for all of us, every single one of us, to create a practice for ourselves and with our partner, where we're creating a space where we can allow healing to happen, by creating a space that's so safe that we can allow our nervous system to relax, that we can allow ourselves to be vulnerable and to be seen. And this is how we create the environment for healing to happen, for connection to deepen, for intimacy to deepen, and for a bridge to be created in a relationship where perhaps there was previously, a gap, where there was previously disconnection. This is how we can bridge connection again, wordlessly, without needing to do anything, simply by breathing and holding presence together while we allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that we feel. And some of you might wonder also, so how does this affect my sex life? Because I did start with framing this as how to create sexual healing. So this is the foundation, and this is valid even if you don't have sex with someone. But if your partner is someone that wants to have sex with you, which is always great, then this is a beautiful way to create exquisite intimacy and trust, which is the foundation for ecstatic sex. And the sex and lovemaking that will come as a byproduct later on, when you create this level of trust and intimacy, will be at a very much higher level than what you experience when you are overriding your true feelings of disconnection and fear, disembodiment, but you continue to go through the motions of having sex based on what you think you should do as a lover, to perform, to be the man, to pleasure your partner. All those things, if they're done on the foundation of disconnection from yourself and from your partner on a deeper level, will not have the ability to create the magic that we all deeply long for. So that's it for today. And I want to just end with an offer here today. So because we're very close to the festive season and Christmas, I wanted to pop in with a little offer here. And that is a one-off couple session with me. And this is for couples who are at the point where they're ready to and willing to start a practice like the one I've just talked about today. If you want help with getting this started with your partner, I have an offer of a one session with me together with your partner, where we will go through all of this together, and I will help you also according to where you are at and your unique circumstances. So if you're interested in this one-off session offer, it's going to be available only until the beginning of the new year. So now is the time to get in touch with me if you want to take advantage of this. So you can say partner session in the comments if you want me to get back to you, or if you prefer, you can send me a private message. And for those of you on YouTube, where I will be posting this later, yes, you can leave me a message in the comments, or you can email me and let me know if you're interested in this partner session offer. So until next time, be well. I wish you all the best, and all the love, and all the beauty, and all the peace and joy in the world. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.